Today I'm gonna blow your mind because I'm gonna be showing you a tool that I believe is one of the most amazing tools I've discovered in the past couple of years. This tool does amazing stuff, and best of all, you can actually leverage this tool in your apps to make money and do incredible things. Now, before I continue, I just want to let you know that if you are interested in viewing and or cloning the app that I'm about to build in this video, you will be able to do so from my Patreon page in the description below the video. So if you head over to beta.openai.com, you're going to be on this amazing page. And this tool is called OpenAI. And just like the name, it's a artificial intelligence machine learning tool, and it does incredible things. Okay, so some of the things it can do includes things like text completion, image generation, embeddings, code completion, fine-tuning. But that is just, a little sample of what it can actually do. So if you hit up examples, you can see just a subset of the things this tool can do. So it has Q&A, means it can answer questions based on existing knowledge. It can do grammar correction. It can summarize something more complex for a second grader, which is incredible, as you're going to see in a second. You can do text to command. You can do translation, English to other languages. You can do SQL translation, parse unstructured data, etc., etc., etc. You can even do explain code. So if you have a piece of code, you don't know what it does, it can explain it to you. So lots of amazing things. So let's try a couple of samples, and then we're going to go into FlutterFlow, and I'm going to show you how you can actually leverage the power of this tool in your project. So if you click on Q&A, you're going to have a little pop-up window that's going to explain to you how everything works. Okay, so this is going to answer questions based on existing knowledge. And you essentially ask it questions, and it's going to give you answers. And you will be amazed what kind of answers it can give you to what kind of questions. So let's say I go into Playground here, and this is where I can actually play with the tool. And let's say I click on load the preset and I click Q&A, okay? And these are sample questions. And all I have to do is select all of this and type a question. So for instance, what's the capital of Bolivia? Okay, so something like this, I can hit submit, and there it is. That's the simple answer. I can ask it stuff like, what is the distance between Earth and Mars? Okay. I can do submit, and it's going to think about it for a moment, depending on the question. And there we have it. The average distance between Earth and Mars is 225 million kilometers. So you can ask something else. What is heavier, an elephant or a person? Okay, and you can hit submit. So it says here, an elephant is typically heavier than a person. On average, an elephant can weigh up to 6 tons, while an average adult human weighs around 70 to 80 kilograms. Okay, so you can also fine-tune the way this tool works, right? So we have a model here, and this is the best model I'm using, right? So you have various models, and some models are more capable than others. Some models are fine-tuned for different things. We're just going to leave it on the best model. You also have something called the temperature, maximum length, and this essentially means how many tokens you want to generate. So this is important because you can have an answer that's like 50 tokens, right? And a token is like a word. Or you can have an answer that's like, 2,000 tokens, something more complex. So we're just going to leave it at 100. And then you have a bunch of other things that you can, display. So we're just going to leave it on defaults. And on defaults, this works really, really well. So let's try something else. What is the best way to learn French? Okay, so something like this, you can hit submit, and there you have it. The best way to learn French is to immerse yourself in the language. So it's actually giving you a realistic response. It's actually giving you some tips, some advice, stuff like that. So that's the first example. Let me show you a couple of other examples, and then we're going to go into FlutterFlow, and I'm going to show you how you can actually build a tool on top of this. So let's say you want to summarize for a second grader. Okay, so here's an example. We're going to open this in Playground as well. And so here's the prompt, and then here's the text that we want to summarize. So it says here, summarize this for a second grade student. And then we have this supposedly complex piece of text, right? So Jupiter is the 5th planet from the sun and the largest in the solar system. So let's go ahead and try to summarize this. And there you have it. Jupiter is the 5th planet from the sun. It basically summarized it and also simplified it. Okay, so you can try it yourself, grab a bunch of complex text out there, and it's going to summarize it very, very succinctly, very, very nicely. Another really good example is this TLDR summarization. So if you click on that, and this is what it says, summarize text by adding a TL semicolon DR colon to the end of a text passage. Okay, so let's open this up real quick. And so if we open this up in Playground, we have the original text, and then we have this TLDR marker here, this tag that basically tells it that we want to summarize this. Okay, and then you have a bunch of settings, and the maximum length is 60. And you can obviously play around with some of these parameters if you want to change some of the settings and have this generate maybe a longer summary, a shorter summary. So it's very, very flexible. And obviously there's a lot of things that it can do. So if you scroll down on this examples page, you can create a spreadsheet, you can fix bugs, airport code extractor, extract contact information, move to color, analogy maker, lots and lots of things that it can do. And obviously you're probably going to be using perhaps only a subset of these features depending on the kind of projects you're going to be building. And so now that we looked at the tool, let me show you how you can actually build your own assistant, an AI assistant that pretty much answers all queries and does interesting things. And so if we head into FlutterFlow, I actually built a sample app that shows you some of the functionalities and the features of this tool. So this app here has 3 pages. So the first page is a simple Q&A. The second page is a summarized text. And the third page is extracting keywords. Now, if we go ahead and run this app, I can show you how this app works. All right, so here's our app, and here we are on the first page, and this is simple Q&A. So I can ask it a question, for instance, what is 1 plus 1? Okay, I'm gonna hit go. It's gonna go ahead and make the appropriate request, and we are gonna see an answer. And I'm displaying this answer as an overlay over here. So I can click OK, and it finishes. I can go to the second page, and this is summarizing text. So I'm gonna use one of the examples over here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paste this text that they have on the example. I'm going to copy this, come over here, paste this text, and I'm going to hit go. And there's the answer. And this is the summary that we received. I'm going to hit OK. That's done. And last but not least, we have the third example, and this is where we can extract keywords. Okay, so it's telling us enter text to get keywords. We are going to use another example. Search for keywords over here, and I'm going to use this example they have here, and this is what we should be getting back. So I'm going to copy this here, paste it, hit go, and this is the response we are getting. Now keep in mind, I have a lower setting for token generation just for testing purposes. I don't want it to generate a ton of tokens, so you may see a smaller result than on some of the other tests that we were doing, but nevertheless, this is the result. And it looks like it's working perfectly. Now let's go back into our FlutterFlow and let's see how this app is built. Now before you can actually build this app out, you need to get your API keys. And you do that by going back to beta.openai.com, new API keys. So I already have one API key. You just need to create an API key. It's going to show you what the key is. You're going to copy it and then you're going to use it. Next, you're going to go back into your app and you're going to go into your API calls. And so I created an API call. It's called GPT. The method type was post. The URL is here. And you can actually go back to our playground and you can say view code, and by looking at curl, you can see the format of that request. So right away, you see that we have two headers here, right? -h is a header. So we have two headers, and then we have a JSON request, okay? And so this is where you're going to be specifying the prompt. Everything else is going to be pretty much the same. Maybe tokens, you're going to decrease or increase depending on what you want to do. And here you're going to be sending your API key. So if we go back into FlutterFlow, you will see that I have headers. I also have the body, and inside the body, I have a variable called question, which I have defined here because this is the, pretty much the only variable that you need. Everything else can be static. I also have my key specified here. And if I go into response and test, I can specify a sample question. So for instance, what is 1 + 1? I can do test API call, and you always want to do that. It's very, very important. And you should see something that looks like this. And as you can see, we have the response here. Now, once you see this response, you want to select your JSON path. Okay, so if you go into recommended, this is not going to be selected. So I can remove it for you. But what you want to do is you want to select this one right here, and you want to say selected. Now you can go back into selected, and you can give this JSON path a name. And then we're just going to call it response, and then we're going to hit save. Okay, so now you're going to have a JSON path, custom JSON path configured here. That's going to make it easy to pull that response inside of your app. Okay, so that way you know exactly what this JSON path represents. As you can see, it's showing you exactly what the response is, and that's kind of the value that you want. You don't want, any of these other values, at least in this app that we're building. So once you have your API configured correctly here, you're going to go back into the app. And what we have here is we have a very, very simple UI. So we have an input question and we have a button. Okay, so it's basically reading what the user entered in this input widget. And then when they click on it, I have a flow. So if I open this up, I have a backend call. This is what I'm doing over here. This is like a backend call, and you can pick it here, backend call. I picked the only call I have, which is GPT. And I have the only variable. The variable is taken from that widget, right? So if you come in here, widget state input question. Okay, so that way it takes whatever the user entered and sends it as an API. And we are storing the result. Okay, we need to know if it succeeded or not. So if it succeeded, we're displaying a bottom sheet. Okay, so this bottom sheet here, it's passing a parameter, which is that JSON path, that custom JSON path that we were passing. So once we issue the API call, we get the response, we parse the JSON, we already have the JSON, the custom JSON path, and we are passing this as a parameter to this component called bottom sheet. Bottom sheet is a component that shows up as a bottom sheet. That's just the name. So if I come over here, you will see I have a component called bottom sheet. Okay, and that's a very, very simple component. You can create these components by simply going to any page, adding a template over here. You can just search for sheet. You can just enter that. And once it's displayed, you can right click and convert it into a component. And I also added a parameter to this component because we need to display different text depending on the response. So I have a parameter called text in there right here. And this is the parameter here, right? We're displaying this parameter. And so that way I can display a bottom sheet with my custom component and also pass a parameter there. Very, very useful. Works awesome. And this is kind of the strategy that I recommend to everyone to follow. If you want to display some kind of response, it's a really, really nice method. Now, a couple of other things you want to keep in mind is that this example here, it's very simple. You're just asking a question. The second example is summarize text, and the third example is extract keywords. Now, for these two examples, we need to do a little bit extra. And so what I have here is that you enter your text to summarize, but when we actually send the request via an API, we are doing something extra. So instead of sending this input directly to the service, we need to add some stuff to it. So remember, for summarization, we needed to append TLDR, and that is why we have a custom function that appends TLDR, right? So we have a custom function, you go into code, and it appends this TLDR. That's all it does. So it takes the input string, which is what the user entered, and appends this TLDR. And that way the system knows that we are looking to generate a summary, a quick summary. And same thing for this last example here. We're going to open this up and we are doing keywords here. And so we are sending our request here also with a custom function called add keywords. And if I edit this function, all this function is doing is that it's prepending this text here in front of the user inputted string. So we need to prepend extract keywords from this text, okay? And so that's what we have here. And that way we have various scenarios. So in the first example, it's just pure input string, just free form. But in the other examples, we need to do some text processing. Either we need to prepend something or we need to append something. And the result is that we have 3 pages. We also have a nav bar so that we can easily switch between 3 pages. And by displaying this bottom sheet, when the user presses the button, they can see the answer immediately. We don't need to navigate to another page. It's all instantaneous. And that is how you do it. And obviously you can build any kind of app that you want with this service, right? You can decide what kind of features do you want to provide to your customers, to your users. And you can get ideas by going to these examples here and seeing some of the capabilities of this amazing service. And I mean, I personally see like, you know, unlimited amount of ideas right here. There's so many things that you can do. Restaurant review creation, create study notes, interview questions. I mean, you name it. The possibilities are truly limited. There's incredible amount of things that you can do, and you can obviously use this app as a beginning template to build the app that you want to build with this service. Of course, you may want to change around some of the layouts, the graphics, maybe some fonts, things like that, make this app a little nicer, a little more user-friendly. But hopefully this app will help you to jumpstart on your way to kind of building amazing apps, because I personally see like, you know, so many things that you can do with the service. It's pretty crazy what an amazing service this is. And I think in the future, I'm going to be showing you more examples, more ideas that you can do with the service, because we're just scraping the top of the barrel. We're just at the surface of kind of what it can do. It can do a lot more. Now, if you're serious about your no-code development, you are interested in taking your no-code knowledge up a notch or 2, or maybe even more notches, and maybe you're interested in viewing and or cloning this specific app, you definitely want to check out and join my Patreon community. On my Patreon community, you will have access to all the apps that I built, including this app right here. So you can easily view and or clone any app that you choose. You don't need to start from scratch and kind of view the video, you know, piece by piece to see what I did. You can easily view and or clone this app and have a really quick start. Plus, you're going to get access to a lot more content. You're going to get access to live streams, Q&As, behind the scenes content. And also I'm doing a series of masterclasses, and these are in-depth video tutorials on specific features, whether it's FlutterFlow or another no-code builder that a lot of people have expressed frustration and they need some more help. And so you're definitely going to have access to that as well. And plus, when you join the Patreon community, you will be supporting the channel and supporting my work. So if you have not yet joined, I really hope to see you there. And so that is the video that I wanted to show you guys today. I really hope you've gotten value here. Like this video, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you are interested in more no-code content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you real soon.